All right, today we are tackling a big one. We're going to hand you the owner's manual for something that's incredibly complex, always in the news, and deeply personal to every single one of us, the U.S. healthcare system.
So let's just get right to it with the question that I know is on your mind. Why on earth is this system, a system that's supposed to keep us well, so unbelievably frustrating and expensive? You know, if you've ever just stared at a medical bill, completely baffled, trust me, you are not alone.
And here's why this matters so much. This is not some abstract policy debate happening somewhere far away. No, understanding this system is absolutely crucial because it hits us right where we live, our health and our wallets. The stakes just couldn't be any higher.
So let's kick things off in part one with the absolute fundamentals. We have to really get our heads around why good health is about so much more than just not being sick. It's literally the foundation for everything else.
Think about it like this. Good health is what lets us show up for our lives, to learn, to work, to innovate, to contribute. It really is the engine for both personal and national success. So when people's health suffers, you see these massive ripple effects, lost productivity, a lower quality of life, and just enormous costs. It's no wonder we're always talking about it.
Okay, for part two, we are going to pop the hood and take a look at the actual blueprint of the U.S. system. It is a one-of-a-kind machine, and if you can understand its 5 core design quirks, you'll understand pretty much everything about why it behaves the way it does.
First things first, and this is so important, there really is no single American healthcare system. It's a patchwork, a quilt made of 1,000 different pieces. You've got private insurers over here, government programs like Medicare over there, and countless hospitals and clinics all kind of doing their own thing without one central command. This fragmentation is really the root of all that complexity we feel.
Second, you have to understand that our system has a bit of a split personality. On one hand, it's run like a private market with all the competition and business incentives that come with that. But at the exact same time, it is heavily regulated and funded by the government. So you've got this constant tug of war between treating healthcare as a product and treating it as a fundamental right.
Now this next one is a real head-scratcher, a true paradox. The U.S. is an absolute powerhouse of medical innovation, developing some of the most advanced treatments on the planet. But, and this is a huge but, access to that amazing technology is wildly uneven. Where you happen to live or what your income is can make a world of difference in the kind of care you get.
All right, quirk number 4. This is the one that hits us right in the wallet, isn't it? The financing is just a tangled mess. Even if you have health insurance, trying to figure out premiums, deductibles, copays, and out-of-pocket costs can feel like a total nightmare. The word covered almost never means free, and that complexity is baked right into the design.
And all of this brings us to what might be the most crucial point of all. For all the money we pour into this system, and it is a staggering amount, our results as a country are surprisingly mixed. Key things like life expectancy just don't stack up very well against other wealthy nations. It's definitive proof that spending more doesn't automatically equal better health.
So let's move on to part 3. Now that we've seen the blueprint, we can start to look at where the stress cracks are appearing. You know, the huge challenges that grow directly out of this very unique design.
You know, almost every single debate you hear about healthcare, every news story, every political argument, it all boils down to these 3 interconnected problems. You've got the astronomical cost, the ongoing struggles with access to care, and this fundamental question of quality and value. So, let's break each one down.
First up, cost. And wow. When you just look at the raw numbers, the scale of this is mind-blowing. The United States doesn't just spend a little more per person than other developed countries, it spends massively more. It's in a completely different league. So why? Why is it so expensive? Well, it's pretty much a perfect storm. We've got amazing but very costly new technology, we have an aging population that naturally needs more care, there are huge administrative costs thanks to that fragmented system we talked about, and the system is often set up to pay for the quantity of care, not necessarily the quality of the outcome.
Next, let's talk about access. This one is so much more complicated than just asking, are you insured or not? There are millions of Americans who are technically insured, but they're underinsured. Their plans have such high deductibles that they're still crushed by medical bills. And that doesn't even touch on barriers like geography, just being too far from a doctor.
And this gets to the heart of the third big challenge, value. It all comes down to asking one simple, powerful question. Are we getting what we pay for? It's not just about spending less money. It's about spending our money smarter to get better health for more people.
Okay,
So if we can all see the problems, why is fixing them so darn hard? For our final section, we're going to look at the key players at the table and the political puzzle that makes real, meaningful change so incredibly difficult.
The best way to think about the system is as one giant, never-ending negotiation. You've got patients who, of course, want affordable, great care. You've got doctors who want to provide that care while keeping their practices open. You have insurers who have to control spending to stay in business. And you have the drug and tech companies who need to make a profit to fund the next big breakthrough. Everybody's goals make sense on their own, but when you put them all together, it's a perfect recipe for gridlock.
And all of that tension brings us to the single most important concept for understanding this whole debate. It's called the healthcare trilemma. And honestly, if you get this, you get everything. Picture a balancing act between three crucial goals: keeping costs down, expanding access for everyone, and encouraging the kind of innovation that saves lives. The hard truth is, you can't just max out all three at once. Pushing hard on one of them almost always makes one of the others harder to achieve. And that, right there, is the heart of the matter. When it comes to fixing healthcare, there are no easy answers. There's no silver bullet. Any real change means making some really tough choices about which of those goals, cost, access, or innovation, we as a country are going to prioritize. So we'll leave you with that question. Now that you've got the owner's manual, how do you see the path forward? If you had the controls, if you were in charge, which part of that trilemma would you push on the hardest? Thinking through that is the first step to really understanding every single healthcare conversation you're going to hear from now on.